Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Quet, and welcome back to my Intro to Web Development series. In today's video, we're going to be covering a couple of different topics. We're going to talk about divs, we're going to talk about classes and IDs, and then we're also going to cover anchors. I think anchors are kind of minor, but I think it's important to touch on, and I don't think a lot of developers know about it out of the gate. So, we have our Marvel webpage that we've been working on the last couple of days. We have a H1 here, a paragraph, our image, and we have our ordered and unordered list with links to every movie now, linking to the Wikipedia, the corresponding Wikipedia page inside of another tab. Using our anchor and our attribute, our target blank attribute. So we're gonna just build on this some more in this video. So let's get into the code. So okay, the first thing I want to talk about are divs. So divs are another way to add more structure to your HTML page. They're short for divide or division, and they help you divide the page up and section out part of your page in a more organized manner. Now, this may seem a little weird right now because you're like, well, how much organization do we need just for this HTML? Like, are we going to actually see it on the page? You might feel like you know what's going on. Trust me, when it's time to get into CSS, this is where divs are going to matter a little bit more. So with that said, let's start on making our first divs. So with divs, the tag is just div. And then you have a closing tag. So you encapsulate code. Div you wrap the div tags around other portions of your code. So if you look at the code that I have on the screen right now, I have a div that starts on line 11 and ends on line 18. Everything on line 12 to 17 belongs to this div. This div is acting as a container for the rest of this code, and all of this code is contained within this div. It's separated, it's divided into this div. It's a part of this div, and I know I said that a lot, but I guess I just really want to drive the point home is that divs are containers. They're like buckets of code, and once you have code inside of it, like I've talked about earlier with encapsulation and wrapping elements inside of other elements, you're going to want to indent all of the code over that you've written so far because you want your div tag to be inside of the body tag and you want the rest of your code to be inside of your div tag, and it's a lot easier to read, I'm sorry, once you indent everything over. So we have our div here, and this div is containing everything from this favorite Marvel movies. Let's go ahead and do the same for our other ordered list and our unordered list. So we're just gonna create opening and closing div tags. If you're like me and you have this plugin, you're gonna move the closing div tag around. And don't forget to move the rest of your code. Just tab it over once, just highlight it all and click the tab button and you'll be good to go. Um, so one more time here. All right. So we're good to go here. So we have these divs, and you're probably wondering, well, like how organized is it? I don't really see how this is organized and how this is going to relate to that CSS or whatever I called it. So we have our divs, and to add further organization to it, we have to give it a name, and that's where classes come in. So classes are essentially ways to give your elements names, and you can further organize your code. And this using classes allows you to target your HTML code with CSS and JavaScript, so you can make further changes to your HTML code and add styling to different sections of your code. So, for example, let's say you have two divs. You have a couple divs on your page, right? And you have a div with a class of jeans and a div with a class of shirt. You don't want to and you want, the shirt to have, I don't know, I'm kind of ruining this. I had a good analogy in my head, but essentially you wouldn't put pants on over your arms or a shirt on around your legs, right? And so that's why you want to have classes so you can separate your divs, give them names, and make sure that you're giving the right CSS code to the right sections of your HTML. That way that everything is looking the way it should be. So that's kind of where I was going with it. Like you don't want to be outside with jeans over your arms. It's just gonna look weird. And so your HTML code or your website can look weird if you're using the wrong CSS on the wrong part of the code. And divs help you organize that and avoid those problems. So we have our div here, and we're gonna give all of our divs names, and to do so, you're just gonna use the word class. That is going to be the attribute that you're going to give to any element you want to give a class to. A class can go on divs, they can go on header tags, they can go on ordered lists, linked items, anchor tags, paragraph tags. Uh, I would I would say any HTML element can have a class added to it. And so we have a class. You use your equal sign and you use your two sets of opening and your set of opening and closing quotes. So this so far looks like the attributes that we talked about before with href and target. It looks the same. The difference is for class, you come up with a name. You can make literally any name you want for a class name. For this one, I'm going to name this one favorite. Best practice when creating classes is to use all lowercase letters. I guess there could be times where you don't want to use lowercase letters, but for me personally, I think I almost always use all lowercase letters using a kebab case, which is using dashes in between every word. So if I wanted to do favorite Marvel movie, I'll do favorite dash Marvel dash movie, and that will be in all lowercase letters. Um, and I'll just keep it there. I don't want to erase it now, so whatever. We have this div. This is called favorite Marvel movie. Everything inside of this div, on line 12 to 17, belongs to this favorite Marvel movie div. I'm gonna go ahead and add divs for everything else. Looking forward to for this one. And for this last one, I'm going to give this a class of other Marvel movies. So we're going to give that a save. So far, this makes no changes to our code. If we come in and refresh the code looks just exactly the same. Nothing has changed on the web page, but trust me, we're doing a lot of good work with our code. We're adding um, a lot more structure, and we're adding a lot more capability to our code so far. Sticking to the topic of classes, um, element a class can be used on multiple elements. So, for example, this favorite Marvel movie class, I could add that same class name to this h3 tag if I can spell, and nothing will be affected. Well, it's fine. If that's what I want to do, if I want to say these different elements all need to have, I'm going to do something to them via CSS that needs to happen to all of. I have 5 elements. They all need to have this specific thing happen to them. I'm going to give them the same class name. That's totally fine. Um, an element can also have multiple classes. So my div favorite Marvel movie um, can also have a class of blue. It can have a class of Black Panther. And if you've looked at the structure here, they're separated by spaces. So, when naming a class, that's another reason you will want to use kebab case or just something that doesn't have spaces in it. But kebab case is just more convention. Um, Once there's a space, it's recognizing whatever comes after that space as another class. So here we have favorite Marvel movie, and that's in kebab case. Space, blue, so blue is now a class. Space, Black Panther with kebab case, so now black and Black Panther is also a class. If I was to get rid of this hyphen and put a space here, I now have favorite Marvel movie, blue, black, and Panther as classes. So I don't need all of these classes, so I'm actually going to delete these, and I'm going to delete this class element here. We don't actually need it. The next thing that I want to get into are IDs. So IDs are very similar to classes. They pretty much serve the same purpose. I would say for the most part, just focus on they serve the same purpose. The only difference is you can only use an ID once. An ID can only belong to one element. It cannot be reused again on the page. So once you give an element an ID, um, that's just a way to target something very specifically without anything else possibly being able to also be targeted. So you could make a class name and give it only to one element and say no other element on the page is going to have this. But when working with other developers, or if you just forget that you gave that class name to something else, that can cause potential problems, and IDs can help fix that. And to create an ID, you essentially just make a new attribute here, ID equals your opening and closing quote, and just give it ID. So we're gonna give all of our divs here an ID today. This one I'm going to call favorite. My next one I'm going to call future. I don't know. And for this last one, I'm just gonna call this one other. Okay, cool. So they all have IDs now, and now all of this code is organized in a way that I can target them with CSS or JavaScript, and we're going to be getting into CSS very shortly. Uh, Maybe one more video beforehand. There is a lot more to HTML to learn. There's a lot more elements and tags, but I believe after watching the videos that we've gone over so far, that you guys are more than capable of mastering other aspects of HTML. I will be going over more HTML stuff in upcoming videos where I've incorporated CSS or incorporated JavaScript. I just don't want to stay on it forever, and I think it's a great idea if you just go ahead and Google a couple more tags, play with them, just see how they work. You won't break anything. You can also just kind of, create a new project and just throw random stuff in there, try different tags out, and just see what happens when you use those tags. Don't worry about breaking anything. Just have at it, have fun. But there's a few more things I want to get into, like creating forums, and things of that nature, and we'll get into that in future videos. But for now, we're going to move into CSS shortly, and I want to get us prepared for that by teaching you about classes and IDs. And the last thing that I want to get into in this video are anchors. So anchors, we've already used anchor tags, and we've already linked all of our movies here to Wikipedia pages, but you can also use the anchor tags to link to internal sources. And so if you guys have been on Wikipedia, if you come to if you go to Wikipedia, we go to our Black Panther page. Wikipedia is well-known site that everybody uses, and there are plenty of links here. If you look here, there's links all over the place. That's going to link you to other Wikipedia pages. May link to external sources as well. And if you look here at this content section, um, we have the plot, the cast, production, development, all of this. Whenever you click one of these links, it takes you to another section of the page. um, I'm not allowed to click anything. My Wi-Fi is not cooperate. Okay, cool. So if I click music, it takes me to the music section of the page, and that's called an anchor tag. Well, that's called an anchor. Um, yeah. So anchor tag, normally you link to external sources, but you can link to internal sources as well. And so I think it's pretty important. I think when you're learning the code, we all kind of make some kind of web page where it'd be like, man, be nice not to scroll all the way down here. Just I think those are some of the first projects we make, and later, or just making your own portfolio page and just saying, oh well, I want somebody to be able to click this link that says resume, in my header, and once they click resume, they drop down to the portion of my page that goes on my resume or whatever it may be. And yeah, you just pretty much create your anchor tag, and you're gonna use your ID here. So here, let me stop babbling and just get to it. Right, so we're gonna create a anchor tag. We're gonna give it a href, and we're just gonna close it. We're not gonna give it that href quite yet. We're gonna make a sorry. We're also gonna make this an unordered list. So we're gonna wrap this anchor tag with the unordered list tag. We're gonna indent the anchor tag over one, and inside of the anchor tag, we're gonna have some list items. Inside of the list items, we're gonna put favorite Marvel movies. We're just gonna copy this line. So I'm gonna use the Command Shift Down combination to create. Oh wait, that's not it. So we're gonna use the Alt Shift Down uh command three times, two times to make two more lines. And so we're gonna change favorite Marvel movies on line 11 to looking forward to. Oh, it doesn't make much sense, but that's the verbiage that we're gonna use. And other movies. I'm gonna give that a save. And so if we refresh our page here, just make sure that it's working. Okay, so we have that lined up. Favorite Marvel movies, looking forward to, and other movies. If you want to give this, if you want to give this a little further organization, we could also wrap this in a div, and we could give it a class of, let's say, directory. So we're gonna wrap everything inside of this div. We're gonna tab everything over one more time. Let's say we want to give the div a header. Let's say we're gonna use a h4 tag, and we're gonna put directory here. We're gonna give that a save. Inside of this href. So this is what we're getting at. So let's look at our code, make sure it looks the way we want. Okay, looks fine. We haven't added any styling yet, so it looks fine how it is. Um, so we want to go ahead, and when we click these links here, it's going to take us to different sections of the page. And in order to do that, you're going to use this hashtag, and then you're going to put the name of the ID that you want to go to. So for favorite Marvel movie, that ID is favorite. For what is it? Future and other. So we have future and other here. Give all of those a save. Refresh. And okay, so once we click other movies, your file was not found. Interesting. So I did something wrong here. Oh, I didn't put a pound hashtag or pound sign in front of that one. So we're gonna refresh the page again. We're gonna click other movies, and it takes us to the bottom of the page. Now, the page isn't that big, so I guess you'll see all three movies whenever you hit either of these anchors. So let me try creating some spaces here. So I guess we're throwing in another tag here. We're just gonna use the break tag. which is BR. What that does is it creates a line break on the page. So this is how you can put things further down on the page. I actually need like I don't know. We're gonna do 20 of these. So I use something called an emit code there. And it's just kind of a shortcut for writing HTML, doing things with HTML. And I just created 20 break tags so I could really move this down just really quickly for the demonstration. So if I refresh now, we'll see that this is further down on the page. If I click favorite Marvel movies, we get to the favorite Marvel movie section. We can still see this 2019 movies I'm looking forward to. If we click on other movies, we jump down till we get to the other movie section. So yeah, I just wanted to show you guys how anchor tags work and how you can use them. They'll be uh they'll be very useful when creating portfolio sites or creating websites where when you click on a link it needs to take you to a different section of the page. You can also use it to take you to different sections of your own website. Um, so yeah, that's just pretty much what I wanted to go over in this video. I think we've covered everything. And we have, I'm still kind of planning these classes. I think we have maybe one more video before we start putting CSS in. I think the last thing that I want to talk about are semantic tags. And because div is, while great, it's kind of a generic tag. Kind of how now I might get this wrong, so anybody that's like coming from the nursing field or something, don't kill me. But how ibuprofen is Tylenol and Tylenol is the brand name. And so, like, most of the time you go to the store, people will buy Tylenol over ibuprofen, even though they're kind of the same thing. Well, there's HTML tags that are better fitted. Div is just generic, but there are other tags that you can use to make your code a little bit more readable, and those tags just have more meaning. So, with that said, it's going to be the end of this video. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. It'll definitely get me into the in front of more people, as well as hitting the like button. Will definitely do the same. And there's a bell icon somewhere on the page that you can click if you want to get updates whenever new videos come out. And you can get updated when new videos for this series come out if you're following it. And that's it for this video. I'll catch you in the next one.